Good afternoon, everybody. This is Ekta Saidul Malhotra from the Motherhood Club Talk Show. Like I said, that every mother has a journey of her own, and every journey is very unique. So today, with us is a mother who was a professional, a banker, and she quit her corporate job to take care of her daughter, who today is 11 years old. Resina has many certifications to her credit. She's a parenting coach, she's an NLP coach, she's a writing coach. She helps children become authors. And not only does she groom them, but she handholds them to write their own book, not just write them, but also publish it. So it is she is one and all in one. So that is Resina Dennis for us. A very very warm welcome, Resina, to our Motherhood Club Talk Show.
Thank you, Ekta. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. So the topic that Resina has chosen is coaching parents, children, and individuals to be happy and successful. Now that you all must be wondering that, is that a coach who's going to be talking here, or is that a mother who's come here to speak? Well, let me clarify. Like I said, she's one and all in one. So, what all that is going to be, I'm not going to spill the beans and I'm going to let Resina do the talking. But what I understand from this topic is that it is not always the children who need coaching and guidance. There are many a times that as a parent or as a grown up individual, we also need to be coached because we come with a lot of preconceived notions. We come with a lot of baggage and legacy, which, whether we like it or not, accept it or not, does get passed on to our children, does have an impact, sometimes positive, sometimes not so positive, on our children. And this is what my understanding is of the topic that Resina has chosen. Rest, I'm going to welcome Resina to one, introduce herself a little more in detail, and then talk about the topic that you have chosen about your journey as a mother of an 11-year-old. And then, we will proceed with the conversation. So, once again, a warm welcome and over to you, Resina.
Thank you, Ekta. Again, a pleasure is mine to be here on such an amazing platform. And kudos to you, Ekta, for organizing these kind of shows because I've myself been watching it and I'm so inspired. And I'm sure that many women out there, mothers are getting inspired from this. So I just want to definitely say that at the beginning. Right.
Thank you.
So, Ekta, thank you so much for this lovely introduction as well. So, I want to begin by saying one thing here is that uh, being a mother actually made me the most successful rather than being a corporate professional. Now, when I say this, there are a lot of corporate professionals who must be wondering why is she saying that. So I'm going to let you know why I'm saying that. But I'm so proud that I am a full-time mother first, and after which I am a life and a business coach. I am an NLP practitioner coach. I am a writing coach where I teach children to write their books and also grown-ups to write their books. And I'm also a parenting expert. So this is all about me. But before everything, I think I'm a proud full-time mother to a 11-year-old daughter who inspires me every single day to do something new each day. So today, all these certifications or these credits which I'm talking about is all because of my 11-year-old who has motivated me to keep going and keep doing something new each day. So this is how I would like to begin.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, coaching for parents, children, and individuals for them to be happy and successful. What, what, what about your journey as a mother has, kind of inspired this topic to be discussed over here?
Definitely. I would love to share this. So, this journey began when my little one was born. Okay. That time I was at the peak of my career, and I would like to first, express my gratitude to my organization who supported me throughout when I was going to have a baby. And after which, when I had my daughter, they supported me in and out in terms of, a lot of support of flexibility, timings, helping me so that I could give time to both my daughter and my career. And I have grown extensively even after when she was born. So firstly, I always consider her to be a great luck for me in my life. That's something which I give her a complete credit for. And thank you towards my organization also, who helped me to kind of manage this well. So this thought started that when she was born, I realized that uh, now my child is really very small. She's growing up, and I was at work, I was at home, I was handling her. I was spending as much as I time as I could to, be with her and support her, nurture her. And as a mother, I had promised myself that I am going to be a mindful parent and I'm going to be a nurturing parent. That was very clear in my mind. I had read many books. I had a coach and a mentor myself, whom I had, been consulting for a very long time. So that really helped me at that very moment. So I realized that, it's going to be very important to be a mindful parent and a nurturing parent together to raise a very happy child. So, right from the time she was born, I made conscious efforts to be a nurturing and a mindful parent and doing things which made the child happy. So that's how the journey started. And then suddenly she grew up and she was 5. And when she was 5, that's the time I realized that, oh my God, my child is grown up now. She is, evolving, she's growing, she is becoming such a wonderful, child. Her talents, her enthusiasm, everything surprised me. Of course, I realized that there's a lot of effort which went in as a parent from my side as well to make sure that my child is what it is today in terms of her thoughts, in terms of her happy quotient, in terms of her talent, all of it. So as she grew up further, I realized that she is creating a dream of her own. She was dreaming about not grades, okay, and I'm very proud of that. She was dreaming about reaching or doing something where she will be helping people when she grows up in future, adding value to people's life. And she was very clear that she doesn't want to go and work, she's going to do something on her own at the age of 7. This is the realization which came in. That gave me, yes, that gave me a lot of thought. I thought that I think this needs to be supported, this needs to be definitely supported. And I was in touch with coaches, parenting coaches at that time, and I understood that how important it is to nurture this from the very tender age, at the age of 7. And that's when I decided that going like I will work for a few more years and then I will take a break and I will support this dream of hers 100% basis. And that's when I decided to take a step back and support her in her journey.
Super, super. So, so when you moved out of your corporate job, you've been a banker, and what you do now, not as a mother, but as a professional, is completely unrelated, right?
Yes.
And, you also take a lot of, coaching programs and empowering programs for people where you even talk about finance to them. So, do you miss all of that? Do you miss being a part of that corporate rat race and how you were doing in the banking world?
Right. So I want to share a small secret here with everyone that when I was a child, I myself wanted to be an entrepreneur. I didn't want it to be a corporate professional, okay, to be very honest. But however, to be an entrepreneur, you need to learn a lot of things in your life. And I think corporate gives you that ground, where you learn to interact with people, you learn business elements as well. So today, whatever I am and whatever I have done, I give full credit to my corporate experience because it's taught me everything I know today about dealing with people, about managing finances, about coaching people. Because when I was in corporate career, I was into leadership roles. I had big team sizes whom I have worked with. And that itself makes you a coach any which ways, right? When you are working with people, when people are part of your team, it's your daily job to coach them, to mentor them, to be part of their success and make your team as well grow. So I think this knack of coaching was came from the corporate experience, and it gave me a ground to establish myself. And I had decided that I will take as much of experience I can, and then I will venture out on my own. And that is what I exactly did. I took my experience and then I moved on to venture on my own. So it's a dream of
Wonderful.
my daughter and myself which we're fulfilling together.
Awesome. That is so lovely that, many a times, women especially, and, more so when you become a mother, you kind of stop dreaming, and forget about the fulfillment of it. There is no thought, there is no thought to any learning. There is no thought to any, sense of achievement or dream. But here, you know, um, it's so beautiful to see that a child has actually nurtured that dream. While it is her dream, it is her journey, but you have so gracefully accepted it and internalized it, and that, if you see in the whole scheme of things, has added so much of value to you, and not just as a parent, but also as an individual. And of course, very rightly said, and I think that, that totally resonates with me, that, if you want to be an entrepreneur, what you learn on the job in an organization, however small or large it definitely builds that base and does the groundwork for you, to be an entrepreneur, because you know exactly what to do and what not to do, you know.
Absolutely.
And when you know that, I think the stressful period of setting it up and everything gets cut down, and that in itself then leads to you having more time for yourself, for your family, and to fulfill all that you really want to. So, which is wonderful, wonderful. So,
That's right.
Rachana, tell me, we're talking about your journey as, that parents need to be coached, children need to be coached, or for that matter, any individual needs to be coached, right? And you did all these courses after you quit the corporate world, and then, when your daughter started to visualize and kind of articulate her dream to you, right? So that's what I understand from our conversation.
Yes.
So the mother before doing all these certifications, and the mother after that, how have you been different? What How has your approach been towards raising your child? Because you are the, I think, the second or the third mother who has come here, who's a coach herself. And every time that I speak to a coach mother, there is a different persona about her. There is a different, she's so calm, she's so collective. And normally mothers are like going all kind of, you get irritated and, screaming and shouting also. It adds to your stress, everything and all that. But I don't see any of that on your face. So, so what is the difference pre and post?
Sure, sure. So, Ekta, with me, I was I'm a very conscious person in terms of relationships. So, every relationship in my life, I look at it from a very nurturing angle. I believe that whoever is associated with me needs to grow, must grow, should get that value out of me. And this is how I have been as a person. And with my child, of course, when I was not a coach myself, and I was a corporate professional and a mother, because I had a coach, a parenting coach, whom I always consulted with, my parenting style was very different. Okay. My parenting style, right from day one, when I took her in my arms, was very different. And I learned a lot about mindful parenting. I learned a lot about how giving the small happiness moment to your children can impact their growth, their brain development, as well as their, dreams and desires and their thought procedure. So that is something which I adopted from a very, very early age as a mother. So that definitely gave me a lot of ground to be stable and not yell at my child again and again, because yelling is a real problem. That's a real problem. Of course, we as parents have our battles. I totally agree. We have so much of stress back from office or business, whatever we are doing. And we are doing it for them, of course, right? But children do not understand the yelling language. It brings in a lot of negativity in their mind as well as their heart. Every time you yell at a child, there is a heartbeat which skips. So when I say this, I'm sure a lot of parents will be wondering and thinking, oh my God, yes, I shouldn't yell at my child, because yelling at your child makes your child skip a heartbeat. So when I say this, I'm sure you feel, that thing in your own self. So I realized this at a very, very early age as a parent, and I made sure that I never yelled or have never ever done anything which can hurt my child's heart, because that's the base, that's the foundation to create a happy child. So this is how I was. But however, when I became a coach myself, I learned a lot about parenting. My coach has 50 to 60% of the credit which I would want to give, and 40% is what I have learned, from my coaching certifications which I have achieved. The difference being that I got to know the science behind parenting. I knew the art behind the parenting. Now I know the science behind parenting. And when you combine the art and science, it makes a lot of sense to you as a parent in terms of why I should not yell at my child. Today, I know that yelling at my child has an effect on the brain, which has the effect on the heart, and which has the effect on the emotions. So, when you know the art and the science, you automatically become a very mindful parent. And everything you say or in any way you behave with your child changes automatically. So,
Amazing.
this is
That's
what the difference has been.
wonderful. So, let me take a step back and ask you another question here. When your child was born, right? You said that you were being guided by a parent coach, right?
Yes.
Most often than not, everybody feels that they don't need any guidance, they don't need any coaching, right? So, what
Right.
was the trigger that led you to, have a parenting coach or sorry, not a parenting coach, but a parent coach in your life?
Right. So, Ekta, I read a lot, and I'm an avid reader. So I read a lot of books around parenting, before even I became a parent. And in fact, the thought was that to learn to understand how I can parent my child. Of course, books can really teach you a lot, and I love books. They are my best friends. Till today, I read books on parenting. In
No
spite of
wonder
being a
you
coach.
teach children how to write books.
Yes, yes. So until today, I read a lot of books which are available on parenting. You always learn something new. So that helped me. And of course, I realized that it's important to have experts in your life, because you may have a great parenting style. Definitely, every parent is a good parent. Okay, I want to say this to everyone, that you are doing an amazing job. Whether you're working, you have a business, you're taking care of a child, you're doing a superb job. So every parent is a good parent. Only thing is, the difference is between dealing with your children through trial and errors and others' experiences, like talking to friends or other co-moms, etc. And there's a difference when dealing with your children when you are actually talking to a coach. A coach will tell you the art and the science behind it, and everything lies in the art and the science. So once you understand this aspect, your thinking as a parent changes towards your child. So for me, my child is not a child. She is like a little human to me. I always call her, you're my little human. They are humans, but they're just small in size. That's it. They have an amazing thinking capability. My daughter wants to be a businesswoman going forward. She has her own thoughts. She manages her book, edits and everything by herself. So it just empowers your child when you call them and address them as little humans, or you don't make them feel that, listen, you are little, you're too small, you're just a child. This is something which really helps when you talk to children and you consider them as grown-ups already. It makes a lot of difference in where your children accept you. They listen to you. They, even when you discipline them, they'll be more responsible towards themselves. And ownership comes in at a very, very early age when you actually adopt this kind of a parenting style.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, we've been talking about mindful parenting, and I think that is a very, very important aspect of any mother's journey because, you know, very soon from being mindful to completely mindless, that transition happens so swiftly that you don't even realize that, oh my god, what you're doing. And of course, I'm sure we as parents do lose our temper, and for whatever reason, whether it is a child who's not listening to you. But I think it eventually kind of reflects on your own being, that what is it that you did to trigger that kind of a action or reaction from the child. But I think to internalize that is very, very difficult, or to even accept that, yes, I am the one who actually needs to be fixed rather than fixing the child. And, having done these talk shows and having spoken to mothers of, different age group children, that's one thing that has come out very loud and clear, that, it is us who needs the change. It is us who needs the grooming, because they are being themselves. And
Yes.
more than they responding to the situation, we are actually teaching them to react to a situation, because we become reactive
Yeah.
to them. But as they say, it's easier said than done. But just to spend a little more time on the art and science of parenting, and since you that has been an integral part of your journey as a mother, if you could share an example to highlight the art of parenting and the science of parenting, and how one can kind of dovetail the two. So maybe
Right.
for a lot of young mothers, I like to call myself young young mothers, where we have young children, where we still have enough and more time to correct ourselves, because
Right.
like I said, I mean, we all lose our temper on children, and then yelling is a part of it, or sometimes a little bit on the back also they get it. But of course you mend it. But how, if you could highlight the art and science a little more with an example, maybe from your own personal life, it'll really help us.
Sure, definitely. Ekta, in fact, I run a complete program for children on the art and science of coaching, in which it's totally NLP based through the brain reprogramming structure. Okay, so I'll give you a small example. Firstly, when there are a lot of children who have habit of, say, biting nails, or say children have habit of watching too much of gadget. So what, as parents, generally what we do is we say that you can we tell our children that, hey, listen, don't do this, it's bad manners. Okay, don't bite your nails in public, don't bite your nails in school. Or sometimes we give them one bash in their hand, and we say that, listen, this is not good, you shouldn't do this. Well, there is, as a science, what you need to know is that there could be a reason behind why the child is doing something, right? So when a child is biting nails and it's been very addictive towards biting nails, there could be a lot of emotional patterns which the child is experiencing inside, which the child is not communicating to anyone around. Yeah. So that's the science side of it. Now, to address this, what is that we can do is we should ask the child, rather than screaming at the child that, listen, why don't bite your nails, rather than saying that, hey, listen, what happened, is everything all right, why do I see you biting nails when you're a little nervous, when you're a little sad? These kind of conversations actually opens up the mind of the child, the positive mindset of the child. So the words which come out from your mouth as a parent need to be in certain way that it affects the brain of the child, and then the child responds accordingly. So this is one of the examples. So this is one of the examples where the child, when you ask him why is he doing certain thing, then the child will sit down and tell you really why is he doing certain thing. And there could, as I said, there could be emotional patterns behind it. Those emotional patterns could be that probably the child is fearful of something. Yeah. The child has been bullied by someone, that could be the reason. Or there could be some home matters, maybe the parents are having some kind of a conversation which the child has heard and has not liked it, and the child doesn't know what to do. It needs to get out of the child's mind, right? So these are the reasons actually why children end up biting nails. Now, when you look at it as a simple parent, you might just say that, oh, he just has his bad habit. But when you have the science in your head, that's when you actually try and look at it from a different perspective. And then your parenting technique and style really changes. And you can actually help your child to get out of that habit by talking or by correcting the situation which has made him start doing this. So this is one of the example, Ekta, which I could share.
Beautiful. Yeah, very simple, but I think this is one problem with a lot of children, nail biting, or generally they say that nail biting is an example of nervousness, or sign of nervousness rather. So true, very true. Very rightly said. And I think not many follow the conscious parenting or the mindful parenting, and that is the reason why a lot of children, I think, become more stubborn. And share an example, from your say, from your own journey as a mother, where mindful parenting did not happen.
So, of course, see, there are moments, there are moments when you cannot be 100% perfect parent all the time. Okay. And I would want to say this to everyone, even I'm not 100% perfect parent. Sometimes I have my bad days too. Okay. But mindful parenting may not happen sometimes, when your child is really stubborn about, say, having a junk food. Yeah, like having a cheat day. And there are sometimes we as mothers have to give into, with the love which we have for our child. Sometimes that happens. So for me, mindful parenting has not worked when there have been food related matters, but to a very small extent. And in a day, if you ask me if there are 10 situations, am I being a mindful parent at all 10 times? No. It can happen, say, 7 times. 3 times you may not be successful, which is okay, which is all right. But one thing which we need to always remember is never yell at your children in public, which is a very important thing as a mindful parent, and never raise hands on them. These are the two things which can be most damaging to any child and every child. So this is something which we should always remember 100% of times. There is absolutely no negotiation on these two aspects. As a parent and as a coach, I would like to say and urge this to everyone. And other than that, sometimes, yes, you can give into, and it's okay. It's all right. It's sometimes absolutely okay to give into and be yourself a bit. So that's fine.
So, if you go by the old school of thought, right? And even in today's time, if you see, there is a lot of difference. Earlier parents were very strict, very overly disciplined, and from like our parents' generation to today, where parents are more casual. Parents are more, will give in to these demands more for whatever reason. Either they are being mindful parenting, which is the positive, which is good. The other could be that the child, demands so much, and the children are very smart to know how to play one against the other, and at what moment to ask for something that they know that the mother is just going to give into it, or the father is going to give into it, because they don't have the bandwidth at that time. You're in a call and they are like kind of really badgering you, so it's okay, fine, just do
Right.
whatever you want to. So in
Right.
in a situation like this, I'm sure there would have been instances where you would have
Yes.
also, as a mother, experienced this. So how does one deal with something like this?
Right. So, firstly, I want to again say before I proceed that 100% success is not going to be possible. So don't strain yourself there. Okay. You will give in to sometimes and absolutely all right. Now, the way to deal with this is that it's very important for your child to first know that you, I mean, if there is, a mother and a father, obviously what children do is if mom says no, they go to their dad. And then if dad says no, they come to their mom, right? The first thing which I always tell every parent is that first you two need to be together. Okay. You need to be together. You need to communicate the same language to your child. If the child hears two different language, then the child knows where to play what. So it's so very important that you talk similar language. And it's so very important that you divide the permission buttons, at both places. What I mean by that, if it is food, then you need to ask mama. If it is toys, then need to ask papa. If it is gadget, you need to ask mama. These divisions. And you need to sit down and you need to talk to your child and let your child know that this is how it is. If you need this, you can go here. If you need this, you can go here. If that person is busy, then you can come back to me. Of course, you can come back to me. You need to give them that option as well. But when you say this to the child and repeat this on a regular basis, it definitely works because the child's mind gets conditioned like that. That, okay, this is what I can ask mama and this is what I can ask papa. Now, in terms of there are certain good practices which we can do, which I have tried with my daughter, and I have also helped a lot of parents to adopt this technique, especially when it comes to food. Okay, children every day want to eat junk, and it's very difficult to keep them away. So in this case, the best thing to do and what I practice is that make a food chart and allow your child to choose the days when the child wants to eat something of his or her own favorite thing. You make that chart, put it in front of the, keep it in front where the child can see it, wherever the child's room is or refrigerator, wherever, and just stick to it. You may, I'm assuring you, you will be successful at least 7 times out of 10, where the child will adhere to that food calendar because the child has made that calendar himself or herself. It's not you who's creating that calendar. You're sitting with your child and asking your child, what would you like to eat on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? And if there is junk to be added, when you want to add that junk, and we're going to stick to that junk, that calendar. So these are one of the techniques which works with children. I have tried it. Multiple parents are trying it along with me, and it really helps. Why it helps is, again, this is science, Ekta. This is when you create ownership in them. When they create something, they are likely to be committed to it. Right? That's the bottom line. When they create something on their own, when they commit to it, they will own it and they will follow it. Not 100%, and don't expect your child to follow it 100%. Out of 10 times, even if 6, 7 times your child follows it, it's a win-win for every parent.
Yeah, I again, I think when you have worked in the corporate world or you run your own business, and then of course then you kind of walk the path of being a mother. So many a time, those strategies that you need to work upon with the children. Of course, I'm not a parenting coach anyway, but yes, what the example that you shared, and that's exactly what we did with our daughter, who's 4 and who probably would not understand the whole concept behind it. But children are very fascinated when it comes to chips, chocolates, and everything. And we, as parents, have been very, very mindful about that. That no overexposure to chocolates or all these things. And we never encouraged her that if she went out with us to the market, that every time she goes out, she has to get something, be it a toy or, for that matter, anything that she puts her hands on. Doesn't mean that
Right.
she gets it, because then the child knows, yeah, I'm going to demand it and I'm going to get it. So we've been obviously using the communicating tool with her to make her understand about why, and when can you get it and when can you not get it, and why you should and why you shouldn't. So coming back to the chocolate thing, so we felt that she was being having too much of it and getting fascinated, because you meet friends and family, they want to give sweets and all that. So we told her, fine, let's do one thing. Sunday is a free day for you. You can do whatever you want to. You decide what activities, what toys, and everything is like completely yours, because Monday to Friday we govern. We have to, you have your classes and all those things.
Yes.
So let's keep Sunday as a chocolate day. So now, and then now she obviously, the days of the week are remembered. So Friday, she knows that today is Friday because tomorrow is no class. So by default, oh, Sunday is coming, it's my chocolate day. So not only has it helped to streamline when she can have this chocolate, but it has also helped us make her understand the weekdays. She's been able to
Yes.
remember them. And so there is something that she's looking forward to.
Right.
And when she doesn't get it for whatever reason, not intentionally that we haven't given it to her, so then we compensate that, okay, you didn't get it yesterday for whatever reason, you were not home, or you had something else. So I think very rightly said that the moment you pass on the responsibility or the ownership to the child, they have a sense of achievement.
Yes.
No, because they look, they know that they're small, and it has been said also by us, knowingly, unknowingly, कि आप छोटे हो, आप अभी ये नहीं कर सकते हो, ऐसा वैसा. But that ownership, the sense of responsibility. So, as a parent, I completely agree that that decision making, the choice making, has to be given to the child from a very young age, for him or her to understand that, look, you will have a situation where you will have to take a call, whether it's right or not. And I think that whole the conversation, I feel, and I'd like you to comment on this also, that the conversation with them doesn't necessarily always have to be like a kiddie conversation.
Yes.
Because in India we've seen, छोटे बच्चे के साथ everybody wants to, they'll start talking, तोतला आपका जैसे, ओले ले ले, all that stuff. Right? And when the child sees that, and when the child is watching you talk, the children are very good in imitating you.
Yes, absolutely.
And when that happens, then same set of people will come to you and say, "Oh, the child is not speaking properly,"
Yes. True. Absolutely,
right?
Ekta.
So,
I
you see the kind of communication as a mother that you have with a child. Of course, she's almost nearing her teens now as an 11. But when she was a child, how would you communicate with her? Because your communication would have also helped her to visualize her dream.
yes. Absolutely.
So, if you could throw some light on this, Regina.
I would love to. This is a very lovely question you've asked, and I want to share this. So, as a child, I, as a parent, always told her one thing. I always built in her mind this that whatever you want to achieve in life, you can achieve it. So, dream big. Nothing is impossible. These are the words which I always told her on a daily basis. I love you a lot. You're my best girl in the world. Because these are the positive words which I always told her every day. And I always told her, whatever dream you have, just dream big. Everything is possible. I think this is what made a lot of difference in her as a child. And as she grew up, it's very clear in her mind that whatever she wants, she can achieve it. So I believe in this magic that whatever a mind conceives, you can achieve it. And this is what I told her constantly. And this has helped her, to be where she is today, her thoughts, her dreams, her desires. That's one. Second is there's a technique called a vision board technique, which is something which I encourage all parents to do. I always tell my daughter and whomsoever I coach, whatever your dreams, create a vision board out of it. Just write it down, keep it in front of you, see it every day, and it will come true. So this technique really works. Again, this is science. When you're dreaming something, we would have learned this in our corporate professional training programs as well. People said that whatever you want to achieve, you should stand in front of the mirror and just say it to yourself loud every single day, and it will eventually happen to you. So similarly, for children, there are these quick, nice vision board techniques where you can get a simple white paper, keep it near the study table. Whatever dreams they have, just ask them to write those dreams. And if they have a specific dream for which they have a picture in mind, tell them to create that picture as well and put it in front of them. So these are the activities which tried with my child from a very young and early age. And I only told her one thing: you can achieve everything, just dream big. Education is very important. That's also very well communicated to her that whatever you want to do, you need to have a basic education. There is no, this about it. And she understands that. So she studies very well, very responsibly, but she dreams like, as of now, she has 5 business ideas already in her mind, what she wants to do when she
Wow,
wants. So
amazing.
it gives children wings when you talk to them in a very positive way, and you talk to them every day about it. You have to just, and there's one secret I want to share. Okay, children don't like to be treated like children. They don't want to be treated like children. They want to be treated like adults. So when I tell my child, sometimes, as I told you, out of 8, 10 times, 3 times you may give up. So when I tell her that, listen, you're still little, mama, I am not little. Okay, I am just, my size is little, but I am very intelligent, I'm very talented, like any grown up. So children don't like to be treated like children. You need to treat them, talk to them like adults. Yeah, have conversations which are very clear. If your child is misbehaving, don't scold them, hit them, yell them. Make them sit down and ask, why are you doing this? Find the why, and you will get your answers, and that those things can definitely be corrected. So this is how my journey has been, Ekta, on creating these positive elements in my child's life through positive conversations and treating my child like an adult always.
Amazing, amazing. So, just an extension to this, how would have you ever had a moment where you try to kind of talk to your child or reason out with her something, and she's not giving into it, she's just being stubborn about it,
Mhm.
where the communication is becoming one-sided.
I
Like,
got
you just said that you ask the child that, why are you doing this? What if children don't, respond to you?
you. Yes. So there's one more thing which we need to all remember as parents is, हर चीज का solution or every solution cannot be instant. Sometimes when your child misbehaves, doesn't give in to, doesn't listen to you, pause, breathe, just leave them alone. Let them understand what they have done. As parents, what we do is when our child is really misbehaving or being stubborn, we want to fight it out with them then and there and make sure that they listen to us, right? There actually, it's not parenting, that's ego which is coming in between. And when children see egos, they don't like it. And they want to shatter that egos as well because they are grown ups, they are not little children. So, when there is a situation like this, it's always important for parents to sit back, relax, pause, and sometimes just walking away from that situation also helps. Just move away. Don't stay there in front of your child. Let the child realize. Because whatever you told your child in that angry situation, whatever you communicated, the child has heard every word behind it and every emotion behind it. So when you leave the child alone to process it, the child goes back and thinks, okay, what did my daddy or what did my mom say right now? Oh, maybe she's right, or maybe they are right, etc., etc. Give it half an hour, 1 hour, give it a day, no problem. Go back to that same situation again where your child is calm and you are calm. That's most important. Yeah, when your mind is calm, and see how your conversations will change, how your child will communicate with you, and you will have some solution to that problem for sure. And it definitely works. It's tried and tested by me personally, and many of my parents were trying this, along with the children. It's parents who need to relax first, than the child. It's that's the most important message.
Very true, very true. So one unique habit that you have, which you do
Yeah.
every day for your daughter.
Oh, so this is something which I do every day, every morning when she wakes up with me. Okay. Uh, I tell her these five things or three things, whatever comes to my mind, that I love you. She is the best girl. She's the most disciplined and organized child. She's very responsible, and dream big and dream big. These are the four, five things which I tell her every morning when she wakes up. It's so important to make them feel good when they start their day. Yeah. With this online school, I think children are slightly troubled. They are not going out. They don't know what to do. It's very difficult change for them. For us, in fact, also it has been a difficult change. Full day Zoom calls and webinars and meetings. So you can imagine 5, 6 hours children in front of the screen. So it's so very important to first condition their mind first thing in the morning with positive aspects, with positive affirmations, with positive, love statements to them, which they like hearing. You hold them, you cuddle them until they are completely awake, and then start their day. Never ever start your child's day in a hurry. Never. I have this beautiful article which is there on my blog, which says that, are you always in a hurry? It actually talks about, and there's a scientific research done, that it is parents who are always in a hurry, because of which children's behaviors sometimes are not very positive, where children sometimes get into their shell, or they are constantly very stubborn about doing things. Like, let's take a simple example. If I tell my child, listen, school is up, get up, brush your teeth, look at the way I'm communicating right now. Can you imagine the impact on my child's mind? Yeah. So it's so important that when your child wakes up, you don't talk in this language. Rather, you wake up your child, say 15 minutes prior to the schedule which you want the child to wake up. Give that 15 minutes of love to your child. That cuddle, that positiveness in your child's mind. Make your child feel how much you love your child and how important your child to you is. And then you start the basic chores. So this is, all these things which our children express or behave, is mostly because we parents are in a great hurry to finish our chores and our tasks for the day. Of course, we all have to start our work at a particular time. I understand that. And today, even if I'm a coach and a full-time mother, I start my day at 8 a.m. in the morning sharp. So I need to make sure I wake up my daughter for her school. So instead of waking her up like very close to 8, I take an extra 15 minutes time out. I wake her up. I, I have those positive conversations with her, and then we start our day. And again, I'm repeating, this may not be possible 10 out of 10 times, but even if you make it possible 5 to 7 times out of 10, it's a win-win for you.
Absolutely,
This is something
absolutely.
which I follow as a habit.
No, that's so wonderful, and you are totally walking, walk the talk here. You choose your topic of that, coaching parents, children, and individuals to be happy and successful. Because I think the moment that positive affirmation is going out to the child, in turn, there is also a positive affirmation that you're giving to your own self, that look, my child is good, I'm doing a great job nurturing the child. And as I say, that a happy mother raises happy children. And we have a comment from one of our viewers saying that that's so positive, and she completely agrees with you that it's absolutely not right to yell or at children, or even beat them or spank them. And it indeed, you have shared a lot of insights into mindful parenting today. We have a mixed, set of mothers here with grown-up children and younger children. But of course, the ones who have grown-up children would eventually become grandparents. And I'm sure this talk with you today, as a mother, as a coach, will definitely be very, very, handy. But this two last questions from my side. One, of course, is the regular ritual, which would be your one piece of advice to all our viewers. And the question before that to you is that how can our parents transit to being mindful parenting, towards being a mindful parent? And once the parent starts to do that, at what age would the child be still receptive to it?
So, there is for a parent to be a mindful parent, they can start now as I am talking to you, to everyone right now who are listening to me. Mindful parenting can start like this. You need to decide as a parent that what you want, how you want to deal with your children. So it's as immediate as this. Uh, of course, parents need help on this aspect, and they should reach out. If they don't know how to be a mindful parent, then they should reach out to experts and ask them how mindful parenting can be done. And there are a lot of experts who can help parents to learn the technique. Because trust me, mindful parenting is an effort. I would not say it's a cakewalk. Parenting is not a cakewalk, and mindful parenting is definitely not. You need to be very, very conscious when you are every sentence, every word which you speak from your mouth needs to be thought of before you communicate with your children. So that's how mindful parenting is all about. So if you want to learn and practice it, you definitely need to reach out to an expert. But if you just need to know what should I do as a first aspect, then I would only say that first aspect would be calm down, don't be in a hurry with your children. Don't be in a hurry. The moment you take a step back in every situation, learn to take a step back. It's always said, right, when you are angry, you should count backwards, correct? That's the technique which we use on ourselves. But when it comes to our children, we forget these techniques. These are some simple techniques which you can use to be mindful parents. Count backwards so that the situation can relax at that very particular moment, and then go and deal with it. That's the first step. Taking a step back is the first step as a mindful parent. And afterwards, there are a lot of other techniques which you can use, but you need to know the science behind it as well to be an effective mindful parent.
Wonderful.
Right?
And at
Yes.
till what stage can we, kind of work on it?
Children
Child is
receptive.
receptive.
Yes. Trust me, mindful parenting is for life. Okay. If you start it at an early age, you will see that the effect of it on your teenager, once your child, because teenager is a very difficult phase to handle, most difficult phase to handle for every parent. It has its own dynamics. You will see that the effect of it will be very, very valuable to you when your child becomes a teenager. And a mindful parenting or a mindful parent is for life, Ekta. You got to be it for life always. So, and the impact of the children definitely is going to be for life, because it's said that when you create happy children, they turn out into accomplished adults. So your mindful parenting is going to help your children for their life. Yeah. How their behaviors are going to be, how their nature is going to be, how impatient, or how how could they handle their anger, etc. All that will be benefited if you start being a mindful parent from now, and it'll help your children forever.
Super, super. So your one piece of advice, of course, you've given many, but one piece of advice to all the parents, all the mothers who are listening to us or would eventually watch this show, what would be that one advice?
Sure. So my only one advice would be that your children are not children. They are not little, like they are not babies. Don't treat them like babies. They are little humans. You need to treat them like grown-ups. Children love being treated like grown-ups because they feel very responsible. They feel that, oh my God, I am something, for my parents, That's the feeling. If you give that feeling to your child, you will see ownership, discipline, academics, everything turning around. You will not have to bother about it too much. And one most important thing which I want to share is that there is a lot of thing spoken about health and wellness today. And we focus on it as adults. Okay. But we really don't focus about on the wellness aspect for our children. It's so important. So as a parent, I would urge everyone to take care of their children as well when it comes to wellness aspects. The things what you can do as a parent is have a great morning routine for them. A morning routine is scientifically studied and said that if you have a great morning routine, your entire day is likely to be more happier and more productive. So adopt a great morning routine for your child. Like the way I shared my example that the 15 minutes morning is my time with my child, which is absolutely, sharing all my emotions with her, what I feel about her, how great she is. So that's the morning routine. And the second other tip which I would like to share is have a great night routine with your child. We sometimes just ignore this aspect that how important it is for your child to sleep in a very happy mode, to wake up as a happy little human the next day. So it's very important you keep them away from gadgets at least 1 hour, 1.5 hour prior to their sleeping time, and introduce soft music, which if you can, in form of any kind of music which your child likes, and reading of a book. You will see how your child will feel the next day. You may not see the effect the very next day, but just see how slowly, gradually your child will love that night routine with you. And the child will crave for it. Mama, come in. I want to spend time with you. Papa, come in. I want to spend that time with you. Keep my gadget away. I want to read with you. I want to listen to this soft music before I sleep. This is some practice which I follow and I've seen great results. And I would urge every parent to take care of this wellness aspect of their children by giving them a great morning and a great night routine.
Wonderful. That's such a superb advice, and I, completely agree that the health and wellness, when we talk about, is very important for children, and not just the physical well-being of a child, which we all take care of in terms of healthy food and everything. But I think the mental health of a child is equally important, and more so in the current times where the children are not the usual, they're not going out, they're not meeting friends. All they're seeing are adults. They're just seeing their parents or the other family members, the grown-ups who are there. And somewhere I think, most of us would agree that when children see only adults, they start behaving like them,
Yes.
right? And that is where the mental impact happens more. So, all these inputs that we got from Resina today, I think they're absolutely, worthy of thinking about or considering, support from a parent coach or, reading books on parenting, because parenting, a lot of us don't want to read about because we feel that we know it all. While it's a
Yes.
very hands-on job, but it is indeed one of the most challenging, one of the most enriching experience that one can have. We make mistakes, we learn, we correct ourselves, we change our style of parenting. One day it would be something and the other day it would be something. Children are evolving, so are we. But let's make the journey a happy journey and go by the advice that Regina shared with us. The mornings and the nights should be pleasant and happy, because that I feel will not only have a positive impact on the children, but will definitely de-stress you and have a positive impact on you as well.
Oh,
So thank
absolutely.
you so much, Resina, for being here, sharing your journey, sharing the transition that you had from getting coached by now coaching people, how you and your daughter so beautifully are living the dream that she has seen. And for all of you to know that this young girl has a few books which she has authored with the help of Resina, and she very recently is launching another book, and it is commendable the way you're grooming her, you're nurturing her, because how many people do we really know where one, the mother lives the child's dream, and two, that the child is an author at such a beautiful age. So, for all of you who were watching us, do leave your comments. If you have any question that you would like to ask Resina, you may post them at a later point in time, and or you could even watch this show either on Facebook or on YouTube. And we will be back again with another unique journey, either a mother or a father. As we all know, that we've also started our series on fatherhood. So, a teeny weeny hint, we have a father coming in the next talk show who will be talking about yet another aspect of fatherhood. From what we heard from Mr. Malhotra last week, this father believes that a father is a friend, is a coach, is a guide, is a mentor, something similar to what Mr. Malhotra said. And but we'll hear him what he has to share about that. So parents are unique, so are children. So let's all enjoy this unique journey. Let's all share our experiences, our thoughts, because you never know which tried and tested strategy or technique might help you get out of that difficult situation that one is in or you are struggling with to raise your child, for that child to be a good and a happy human being. So this is Ekta Sehgal Malhotra at the Motherhood Club Talk Show. And thank you, Razina, once again for being here, sharing all these insightful things for all of us to be better parents or grandparents and to be happy and successful human beings.
Thank you so much, Ekta, for having me, and it's a pleasure to be speaking to you. Thank you.
Take care, all of you. Be safe till we meet again on Thursday at 4 p.m. with the journey of this wonderful father. Take care, everybody.